Fan theories can get pretty ridiculous, but that doesn't mean they're not true. Does Star Trek only exist in the mind of a mid-century New Yorker? Is James Bond really one man or a part of a secret government plot to breed super spies? And what about Kevin McAllister's forgetful father, Peter? Could he be the original Walter White? Find out as we dive deep into some of the craziest fan theories out there. Before you watch, click subscribe. You'll join our notification squad and be the first to know of new Screen Rant content.
I spent half my life trying to keep this technology out of the hands of a Stark.
Tony's fantabulous Pym-powered nanosuit. Since 2008's Iron Man, we've been treated to one mesmerizing suit-up sequences after another, and Avengers Infinity War took our breath away with Stark's nanosuit. But how the heck did Tony Stark get a whole frickin' Iron Man to fit in that itty-bitty arc reactor? Maybe he's using Pym's miniaturization technology. That's right, we think Tony dabbled in a little corporate espionage and finally got his hands on Pym's prize tech. Ant-Man was imprisoned for a time during the events of Civil War, which means Stark had motive, means, and opportunity, but spoiler alert, it still wasn't enough to stop the Mad Titan from snapping those fingers.
That future, that space station, all those people, they exist in here.
Benny Russell's Star Trek. Is the iconic Star Trek really set in a utopian future? Maybe, maybe not. Deep Space Nine Season 6 episode Far Beyond the Stars implies that Commander Sisko, his motley crew, and the entire franchise by extension exists in the mind of Benny Russell, a struggling African-American author in the 1950s. The episode frames the action as one of Sisko's visions, sure, but a vision so complete in detail we can't help but wonder if Russell isn't imagining himself as Sisko to escape the hardships of 20th century America. And we're not just spitballing either. The producers toyed with the idea of ending the series with Russell sitting outside a TV studio with a script for Deep Space Nine in hand. So there's some merit to this theory.
Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
007, shaken and traumatized. In The Boys from Brazil, an ex-Nazi scientist clones a bunch of baby Hitlers and subjects them to a series of traumatic events in an attempt to replicate the conditions that made the original Hitler the supervillain we learned about in school. So what if MI6 took a similar approach to their 007 program? They may not be clones, but they do share eerily similar life experiences.
I have no objections.
They're all young boys orphaned at an early age who suffer the tragic murder of a spouse later in life. This would mean MI6 spent decades recruiting and traumatizing children in the name of national security. It also explains why James Bond hasn't aged a day in half a century.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
2001, A Star Wars Story. If you fast forward approximately 33 minutes into The Phantom Menace, you'll see this: a space pod lying around with the rest of this space junk. The derelict pod is from Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, and implies the events in the Star Wars saga happened long after 2001, far into humanity's future, where we've left Earth to explore other galaxies and got into some sweet lightsaber duels.
That's not how the Force works.
So if Star Wars is set in the future, then what's with all this long time ago business? Well, it's possible the adventures of Luke, Leia, and company are tales or myths recounted by some distant civilization, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of years after the Millennium Falcon's final flight. Or it could just be a sly nod to Kubrick by director George Lucas. Debate in the comment section below.
Hey, pizza's here!
There you go. That's $122.50.
Oh, it's my brother's house. He'll take care of it.
Uncle Frank, mastermind. We all know the heartwarming story of how Kevin McAllister straight up tried to murder two burglars on Christmas, but how did Harry and Marv know to rob the McAllister household? Maybe grumpy Uncle Frank tipped them off.
It's horrible. Horrible. Just horrible.
There's a theory floating around that Kevin's grumpy uncle, bitter at his younger brother's obvious wealth, masterminded the heist to get his hands on whatever Peter McAllister has hidden in that freaking house.
Frank, you got the money, don't you? Come on.
Traveler's checks.
Forget it, Frank. We have cash.
Because the only way he can afford to live in that house and pay for a Paris vacation for his and his brother's family is if he's into some shady Walter White level craziness.
Say my name. Heisenberg. You're goddamn right.
So there you have it. Some ridiculous, some preposterous, and downright plausible theories about cinema's greatest franchises. Sure, some of them are pretty wacky, but you have to admit they're credible too. What did you think? Are these theories convincing, or did we spend the last 5 minutes ruining your childhood? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe. Until next time.